Welcome to Washed.
The whitest things.
I fuck with the show. I think it's like, you know, when you really think about the whitest shit you ever done.
I didn't prepare for this question at all. I didn't have any thoughts to this question.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to Washed. I'm your host, Orlando, and today we have Sid with us. How's it going?
It's going. How are you?
Not too bad.
Good.
How's your day been?
Good. Lots of work. Lots of commuting in this bullshit ass rain.
Yeah,
But it's good.
Yeah. I mean, rain is what we get when you're in Seattle. Sid, where are you from?
From Tacoma, Washington.
Okay.
Born and raised.
Yep.
Moved to Seattle when I went to college at UW.
Nice.
In 2011. And I've lived in the area ever since.
Damn, that's a long time. All right, Sid, tell me how you identify.
I identify as a little bit of a mutt. My mom is Hawaiian and Portuguese, and my dad is like 10 types of white. I don't even know what he is.
Dang, that's a lot of white.
That's a lot of white.
Do you think it usually unbalances the Portuguese and Hawaiian?
Yeah. I would say it's funny because my last name's Compton, and that's my dad's last name.
Yeah.
So everyone always jokes that the white boy got the Compton last name. And then my mom has like the Hispanic last name.
Yeah.
So she has the Rodriguez. So, I mean, people, like, when they look at me, they can't really tell what I am, but they know I'm white, but they're like, there's something else in there.
Yeah.
There's that ambiguously, like, ethnic chick right there in the corner.
Like, there's some sort of spice hidden in there. I just can't tell what it is.
A little bit of seasoning.
That's a good way.
Seasoning.
That's a good way to go. That's a good way to go.
A little bit of spice, not too much.
Yeah. What's the whitest thing you've ever done?
I would say the whitest thing I've ever done is, I don't know if you know this about me, but I went to private school for 18 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I grew up in Tacoma.
In Tacoma?
In Tacoma.
Okay.
So the private school I went to was, I think I was a part of the diversity initiative because I needed so many, and even in the past like 5 or 6 years, when diversity has become in the forefront and kind of a thing that people make apparent.
Mm-hmm.
My school definitely recruited the ethnic athletes or, you know, people in the surrounding Tacoma schools. I wasn't recruited for athletics, but I was recruited for education. Yeah. Because I scored really high on like all my tests and all that stuff. And
that's
of course,
cool.
When you choose like 2 or more races on a standardized test, people notice that. I went to private school since I was, or from age 4 to 18.
Dang,
and the first
I don't think I started school until I was like 5. When does kindergarten start? 5, 6? 5, 6?
I started in pre-K and you're 4.
Gotcha. Yeah,
you're 4 when you start in pre-K. So the first school I went to was pre-K to 8th grade. So I went to the same school with like the same core, probably like 10 to 15 people for the first 14 years of my life. Or 10 years of my life, I'm sorry. That was weird. I was always like, I always had my little like plaid jumpers and like bright red sweatshirts and collared polo shirts. And I grew up in this area called Tillicum, which is down by the military bases, which originally was kind of a military area. So my grandpa's in the army, so my family settled there. Makes it sound like they immigrated, but no, they just moved there.
Yeah, for sure.
They moved there, and that's just where I grew up, and it turned into kind of this like huge drug scene. There's like meth houses down the street, so I grew up in obviously not a super great area, but I was always, my granny, super short, stubborn Hawaiian woman, would not have it like for us to go to any school that was in a public school system.
Yeah. Shout out to her. That's pretty cool.
Right? No, now like public school education's so good that I wouldn't even, I mean, it'd be whenever I end up having kids, like I would think about both options. But
for sure, in
the first school I went to, I would say there was maybe in my class I grew up with specifically, there was 1 black person. There was maybe, I think there was 2 black twins that.
Gotcha. Were they in for athletics?
No, not when we were that young. Cause that school.
That makes sense. Yeah. I guess you guys are too young.
Not when we were that young, but they actually were super high, like ranked world class gymnasts. For a really long time. They left when like 6th or 7th grade. Mm-hmm. They moved to California, and both of them, they were twins though, so they both like really good at the same type of, I forget what they did, but
that's funny.
Yeah, they moved to California to get better at gymnastics. But throughout all my education, all I ever really knew was the world that I went to school with, which was this extremely whitewashed world all the way up until I was 18. But then I had this ulterior world of basically living in the hood where of as much as you can in Washington, because I know there's not that many super desolate areas in this state. For sure. But, you know, not a great area to grow up in. So I always had these 2 realms of color identification where everybody in this area, no one was white, and everybody in this area was pretty much white. So I would say in the grand life scheme of things, that's probably like the whitest thing I've ever participated in.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, they were a weird upbringing.
How much of the outside of like private school system did you interact with? Like besides the kids that you hung out with school, was like everything outside of you, was that super white, or was it like mostly minorities?
Not really. It was mostly minorities.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't grow up around my father. I didn't grow up like with my dad.
Yeah.
I saw him, a little bit, but he always lived up north. So
Gotcha.
I always grew up with my mom's side of the family.
Mm-hmm.
My mom's side of the family is the ethnic side of the family. So a lot of who I interacted with was mostly family.
Yep.
And then I'm only in school for so long, and then I go back to my house where all the kids that I played with were there. So it wasn't necessarily like I noticed the difference kind of thing, but as I'm older and looking back on it, I was like, those are very two stark comparisons in a world to look at. I definitely don't know where I would have been without that background. I wouldn't have really known who I was.
I will say, since I've known you, and like anytime in passing, I always feel like I have a good conversation with you. And I don't know if worldly is the right answer. You just seem like you can communicate with anybody, and I think that's really important. That I'm assuming that's probably where you got it from without noticing it.
Yeah, as a kid, you really don't notice you don't reflect on it. Like hindsight's 20/20. You don't really reflect on how you grew up until you're asked about it. I think I had to be a chameleon growing up to blend with a lot of worlds, and that's just something that always stuck with me.
From someone looking at you, like you said, you would basically be a white person, for like lack of a better term, but I mean, this shows what it is, so I will freely say you look like a white person.
Yeah,
like,
of course I do. And especially it's
at
winter.
First glance. Yeah, exactly.
If you were talking in the summer, you'd be like, girl,
you're
brown.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I want to ask you a very specific question because I know how much you love baseball.
Okay.
Where did the love of... I think baseball is really white. Granted, the players that play aren't very white, and like a lot of that is like a Dominican thing, or like I guess you could say the Caribbeans, because really it's like all those areas. But
Dominican, Puerto Rico,
where did that come from?
So it's funny, like, when you presented this idea of the podcast and everything to me months ago, and kind of like I was thinking about it driving here, I was thinking about like a baseball answer, because that's like very tailored to who I am as a person, obviously. Yeah. And baseball is a very, very white sport. Like, when it comes to front office politics and when it comes to even just fans of the game, it's a very old white dude sport. Yeah. And this little brown girl from the south side of Tacoma just falls in love with like the whitest sport available. But that, I think, obviously, I don't think had anything to do with ethnicity or identifying, I guess, as anybody on the field. Because when I grew up, the blackest player on the field was Ken Griffey Jr. Of course, I didn't identify with him.
But he was amazing. So
he was great. Yeah. And as the years go by, there's all these discussions about diversity in baseball, and I think a stat I read at the end of the 2017 season is there's only 5% of African American players in baseball, and most of them are, Caribbean born, like you said, Dominican, Puerto Rican, Venezuelan, Mexican, however, like
Central America. Let's Central America. Yeah, there you go. That I feel like that suits it better. I was like,
I know. I was thinking of a better comprehensive word,
Central America. Let's say that.
List countries.
Yeah.
The love of baseball, I would say, came from, I don't know, just a bland curiosity combined with falling in love with something at a very young age. Yeah. Because I will wholeheartedly always believe that you either really love baseball or you just don't care for it. Yep. You have a passing interest, or you just kind of go to get drunk at a baseball game. Yeah. And I just, in my opinion, was lucky enough to fall on the side of the baseball that you just really, really love. And I've heard multiple stories from my grandpa and my mom, like when I was younger. Like, I was born in the 2 months before the 93 season, and my mom worked in the Kingdom. Gotcha. So there's multiple times where she's had to take me to work because she was like, no, go watch me at night. Yep. So she was just like, you would be so quiet, like you would, because she was a suite attendant. So she just put me in her suite, because in 1993 apparently you could do that at work. And she said you'd be quiet the entire game. You would just like watch, you wouldn't say a word, like everyone would just play with you, just watch the field the whole time.
That's in part cool.
Yeah, in part it's one of those things that just kind of happens. It's just one of those things you really love.
Especially going to private school. I'm sure you've seen a lot of bouginess in your life. And
oh man,
being in my opinion, maybe like besides lacrosse, but nobody really cares about lacrosse, like the most old white bougiest sport you could be in. Like,
you're not wrong.
What's the whitest thing you've ever seen?
People do some wild shit when they have money in schooling systems, especially when it comes to their kids. And I don't even know who taught them how to act right in these situations, but
the kids or the parents?
The parents. Okay. The parents wild out. There was a situation involving my mom that ended in basically like parents attacking her for like, because she volunteered at the school for something, and then like an event went really sideways.
Weird.
And it all went on her. So basically all these like bougie ass parents from like the Tacoma waterfront are out here trying to basically like, I don't know, like tiki torch my mom here, like coming into the, no. I don't want to say it's because of her race. I want to say it's because of like a social circumstance, because we weren't very wealthy. You
weren't them.
My mom is not white. Yeah. So my mom is very brown, but like we weren't them. We're easy target. We're an easy something like that. So parents, when it comes to their children, which I mean, in any sense, a parent is going to be more protective of their child than anything. But when it comes to like that realm of private schools, that's another class of fucking wild and elite. Like
the pettiness just goes through the roof.
It's higher than the fucking Space Needle. Like,
that's
I don't understand. Like, I don't get it. I always wanted to study like sociology in college to learn the behaviors of these people who just act the fuck out. Well, I just mentioned that. I thought of another story of
Let's hear it.
From work, actually.
Let's hear it. We got time.
When I worked at Nordstrom, the whitest thing I ever saw at work firsthand, it was during Christmas. And you know how we have ethnic Santas.
Yes.
So I don't know if you worked there at that time. I think Eric might have, but it was 2012, 2013. I was
definitely wasn't there.
So I was like a sophomore or junior in college because I worked there starting my sophomore year. And of course, you know, I was an operator, so everybody will call, and you know, that's that number when you Google Nordstrom Corporate or Nordstrom Downtown Seattle, whatever.
Yeah. Hold on, before we go on. Were you there with the Ivanka Trump stuff or no?
I had just left.
Good. Because they had to field like some crazy number of calls because every single whack ass Trump supporter, if I hate anybody on this podcast, is going to be every Trump supporter. Shout out to Shea Serrano, who does it every other day, but
Serrano,
it's amazing.
I want to be him when
it's amazing. He's amazing. I'm glad you know him. It's so hard to meet people that know who Shea is, even though the FOH army is everywhere.
Did you see that tweet where like Barack Obama listed his book? I was like, oh my god, he's the coolest person ever.
I was dying for him. I was like, I'm so happy for you.
He's like, I can die now.
Yeah,
like,
it was great.
Man, you done.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm glad you missed that. So back to your story. Sorry, I just want to say fuck Donald Trump for once. Like, you know,
for always.
I had to do it.
Good tangents. The whitest thing I ever saw is, so it was Christmas time, and Nordstrom has ethnic Santas because I don't know how long they've had them, but I understand why, because we're going back to what we were talking about, being able to identify with someone. You can't identify with an old white fat dude in a beard and a red suit. It's just really fucking scary. So you need something to be able to identify with, and if that's skin color, so be it. There was a change in Santas, so of course you know how crazy those lines get during the holiday. Sure. And they're, you know, I think at the time it was like a 2-3 hour wait because it was like a Friday or Saturday. It was during the weekday.
That's how poppin' the downtown Nordstrom Santa is.
It really is. Like every single year, even when it's cold as shit, it's like 20 degrees. I see these little children in their little stockings or whatever.
I'll be walking to work at 6 a.m. in the morning, and there'll be a man outside, like, squatting himself for his family. Like,
never in my life.
No.
Whenever I have kids, you ain't seeing Santa.
Yeah.
Sorry. You don't Photoshop Santa in. But during Santa time, I think it was probably like mid-afternoon, probably one of the busier times on a holiday, like, break day, and all of a sudden, so there's at any like a busier time, there's always like 4 to 6 operators on, and I forgot who of my coworkers had received the call first, but all of a sudden I hear just like scream come through the phone, and like you guys, like you've seen them, like we have those little headphones on, you can't hear people unless they're screaming at you, and it had to have been someone close to me because I just heard this scream. Not an audible scream, not anything I could understand, but just a scream. And all of a sudden, the coworker like clicks this off. And I was like, what the hell just happened? And she's like, this woman's screaming because there was a Santa change. And I was like, okay, why? Like, what does that have to do with anything? And she goes, this woman's mad because the black Santa came out. Oh. And I just stared at my coworker for a second. I was just like, you're lying to me. Like, that's not actually what someone just called a phone number to complain about,
to yell at you.
And she's like 100% not lying, and no one I worked with at the time was of any color whatsoever, so they are very uncomfortable handling the situation. And I get the call eventually, and this woman's just screaming racial epithets at me, whoever will listen.
That's hilarious.
All of a sudden, because you know the ethnic Santas don't usually go down to like the main because of issues like
Yeah,
this, but
for sure.
occasionally it happens because it's not supposed, it just happens because that's how the schedules work out. And she's just screaming, and of course, all of a sudden she just starts crying, and I'm like, you are not crying right now
over Black Santa. Yeah,
she is
what
tears. I can't
fuck?
obviously see her.
Yeah,
but I can just hear these tears coming out of her eyes, and I have to mute myself because I just start laughing.
Honestly, that was what
dying.
That was the thought in my head.
Kidding me right now.
I was about to be like, if that was me, I would have just started cracking out.
I literally had to mute myself because I was like, this bitch cannot be serious. And so I run into ESA because it's down the street from us, and I was like, please zoom in at the front of the line. Like, I need to see. Just like short, blonde ass bob, and has like all her kids around her. She is just crying.
Oh, that's
I was
hilarious.
like, you are the dumbest bitch I know. Yeah. Why are you crying in front of your children? This is how you're teaching your children how to act.
Yeah.
When someone of color comes into your situation.
Crazy.
And to this day, I've used that example in like interviews and stuff like that when they ask like, what's the hardest thing you've ever had to deal with? Of course, I don't talk about how I laughed my ass off. I was just like, I can't stop laughing.
Because it's like,
she just was bawling out crying, and I do not get it.
Well, what are you going to do in that situation? Let's be real. What are you going to do in that situation?
Laugh very hard.
It's her fault for getting upset, in all honesty. If she can't explain to her kids why a mall, granted this,
but it is
Nordstrom isn't at a mall, why Santa Claus that you're taking a picture with is not white like all the pictures show you, you need to be a better parent. That's on you, lady.
You're not even parent. You just need to be like,
be more creative.
Be a better person.
Yes,
like you need to
I
not
agree.
be such a child. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen a grown-ass woman act up so crazy. And when I talk about like private school parents and stuff like that was like that times 10.
Yeah.
And I just, like, it wasn't funny.
Yeah.
But it was hilarious at the same time.
This is what you're crying
because, like, this is a legitimate situation that our store manager at the time, like, had to go deal with and keep a straight face for. I was just on the phone. Yeah. Like, I didn't have to look her in the eye and be like, you're being a dumbass.
Yep.
He had to be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Let me accommodate you. Like, yeah, no. I was like, that's probably top. Yeah, that's probably the biggest one. It was, I mean, that was a wild ass day. I don't know what happened after it, but
I'm just happy she cried. That kind of,
it was so funny. Like,
it kind of makes my heart smile just a little bit in a weird way. In a weird way, it makes
like
me
Michael
happy.
Bennett would be so proud right now. He would just be like, you know what? Let it happen.
I don't know why I'm interested in this. Was it a mix of boys and girls? And like roughly, can you guess an age or no? Were you just like,
I don't know if I remember because I wasn't really focusing on her kids.
Gotcha.
I was focusing.
You're just focusing on her tears.
I know there was like 2 or 3 children. I think it was 2 girls and a boy. I don't remember off the top of my head though.
I honestly hope that to this day, either those kids remember it in a bad way or remember it so they can make fun of her. You know what I mean? Because like,
hey mom, remember when you cried like a dumbass in public?
2012, 2013, that's what, 5 years ago now? Mm-hmm. So that one of them has to be a teenager. If there's 3 of them, there's no way one of them's not a teenager. Be like, oh, we're going back to Nordstrom to get those pictures? Hey mom, make sure you take tissues this time. Like, I hope some of that is happening somewhere. Thank you very much for coming.
No problem.
I appreciate it. Of course.
Of
course.
Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at WashedPod. Email us at whatswashed@gmail.com. This episode of Washed was recorded and produced by Studio 833.